X, and of course on Facebook.
We are also on this wonderful Michigan sports radio network throughout the state of Michigan. And in case you missed it yesterday, Tigers salvaged a game in Cincy with an 8-3 win there. They scored 4 in the 7, led by Hao-Yu Lee's first career home run. Gleyber Torres and Spencer Torkelson each collected 3 hits, I should say, and hit homers. For Torkelson, it's his 5th in as many games. 5 home runs, a home run in each of the last 5 games. They're in Atlanta tomorrow to start a series. That's an impressive run for anybody, whether a guy is struggling or not. That ties a franchise record of homering in 5 consecutive games. 6th player to accomplish it. Marcus Timms did it in 2008. Willie Horton did it in 1969, statue in left center field. Vic Wertz did it in 1950. Hank Greenberg, one of the greatest players of all time, in 1940. And Rudy York did it in 1937. That's super impressive. So Detroit on the year now, and this is, I know we get caught up in wins, and rightfully so. Who doesn't love them, right? They're atop the division, tied with Cleveland, atop the division at 15-14. They are 15-14 though. So it's 29 games. Andy, at what point do you start to measure a team in baseball?
40, right?
40 is probably a pretty good indication. I probably would go a little bit more, but Sparky Anderson always said 40. This is how most teams will look at it. You've got 162 games, right? You're going to win 60. You're going to lose 60. So that's 120. What do you do in the other 42? And I think that's where the 40 comes from as much as anything else. I mean, think about it. Last year, even the Chicago White Sox, for as bad as they were, won 60 games. Colorado is the outlier. All right. Colorado was 43-119. Ooh, brutal in Denver. But for the most part, that's what it is. You're going to win 60, you're going to lose 60. Okay. What do you do with the other 42? We're at 29. There's a few things I think people have already determined. I mean, if you looked at the Tigers so far this season, Andy, what are certains for you? Is there any, let me start by saying, is there anything certain for you? Have you seen anything they do and say, I believe in that?
It's hard to say that anything is certain still, again, because it is less than 40 games. I think the one thing that I do still believe in for the most part is most of their starting pitching. I think you have the obvious question mark with Jack Flaherty right now and his inconsistencies. And I think you kind of figured out already that he's going to be up and down for a majority of the season unless something drastically changes. So you kind of know what you have with the starting rotation. But I think the bullpen is the biggest unknown for me right now still, because I feel like it's just been so inconsistent that they can't find somebody to come in and consistently do something. Like Vest hasn't been the same as he's been last year. Right. Jansen obviously had what he had happen the other night, and he's been a little shaky at times so far even. So Finnegan was good, but he gave up a home run the other night. I don't know. It's just trying to figure out who is really the guy out there right now. I think is still the biggest inconsistency.
I would agree with that. I mean, other than the obvious, that Tarek Skubal is still unbelievable. There's a few things I believe in already. I mean, I don't know how you can't believe in Kevin McGonigal. Okay, he's got an on-base streak of 24 straight starts. Last Tiger to do that was Al Kaline in 1956 at his age 21 season. So that's huge. I believe in Dylan Dingler and what he's doing.
on base percentage. If it's Kevin McGonigal, let's focus on base percentage. But we like to highlight the batting average, and for good reason, because he's been fantastic. In pitching, if you don't want to believe in the ERA, you should at least look at WHIP. And that's walks, hits per innings pitch. He's at 1.74. That's horrendous. All right. In a perfect world, you'd love to be somewhere around 1. Walks, hits, innings pitched. Okay. Certain guys, Derek Skubal, so good in that regard. Now, is Jack Flaherty the worst? No, but he's pretty damn close. I'll give you an example. Paul Skeens, who flirted with a no-hitter the other day. His WHIP is 0.72. The ERA, slightly under 2.5. Both are impressive, but remember how many runs he gave up in his first game of the season. Everybody was, couldn't wait. The anticipation of his first start, and he gave up 5 earned runs in 2/3 of an inning. He had an ERA of 67.5. He literally has gone from 67.5. Then he went, now he's all the way down to 2.48.
Must be doing something right.
Yeah, he's got to be doing something right. No question. So that puts it in perspective right there for Paul Skeens. Jack Flaherty has a 0.1 F-WAR, which is Fangraphs WAR, wins above replacement. All right. His strikeout to walk ratio is just 4.9. It's just too tough to overcome right now. So I haven't been a believer in him, but I'm going to stay a non-believer in him. Just don't buy it. I didn't like it when they reacquired him, and so far it's been proven correct. I hope I'm proven wrong. Here's the other thing I wonder, though. As we look at this team just barely above 500, what's it going to take to win the division? That's what I always wonder. What's the first thing I think of when I look at it? Last year, Cleveland won 88 games and won the division. The year before, Cleveland won 92 games and won the division. Year before that, Minnesota won 87 games and won the division. Year before that, Cleveland won 92 games and won the division. And the White Sox in 2021 won the division at 93. So you're going to need somewhere in the neighborhood of 89. I was hoping for 90 wins. In order for the Tigers to win 90 games, they're going to have to go 75-58 the rest of the way.
It's not easy to do. It's a pretty high win percentage, I feel like.
A winning percentage of almost 57%. Evan Petzold of the Free Press said only 6 teams have done that last season. Brewers, Phillies, Blue Jays, Yankees, Dodgers, Cubs. Tigers, since July 9th of 2025, are playing at 43%. Quick timeout. We'll finish up. We'll get you some NBA and NHL scores from yesterday and some thoughts on that. Of course, your thoughts on the Lions draft for the weekend. This is X's and Bros on a Monday morning, brought to you by Mitch Lanswell.
The Freddie the Pizza Man Foundation is dedicated to providing support to families and Michigan schools touched by autism. We invite you to join us in supporting these families and schools by making a donation at freddythepizzaman.com. With your donation, you can help provide essential resources that can make a real impact. Visit freddythepizzaman.com to make a donation and to learn more about the foundation's mission. That's FREDI thepizzaman.com. Together, we can make a difference.
Van Andel Institute Purple Community is a grassroots fundraising network powered by the dedicated volunteers who support VAI's mission to improve human health now and in the future. When you raise funds through the Van Andel Institute Purple Community, 100% of the proceeds go directly to the Institute's research into diseases like cancer and Parkinson's, as well as VAI's science education programs. Learn how you can get involved at purplecommunity.org.
Saturday night, May 23rd.
Carry on my wayward son.
Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort welcomes multi-platinum legends, Kansas. Tickets start at $60 and are on sale now at the box office or etix.com.
Just in the wind.
Don't miss the best of classic rock. Kansas returns to Soaring Eagle Saturday, May 23rd. SoaringEagleCasino.com.
What's up, Michigan? You're listening to my good friend Shep. The Huge Show is coming up later today at 3, right here on the Michigan Sports Network.
He just keeps playing. I think everybody thinks there's these big changes when somebody, starts to break out. Glaber today a little bit, Torque today. We've seen Riley the last couple of weeks. More than anything, just the resolve to keep playing and handle whatever's thrown at you. And sometimes that's some tough times, And so, are there subtle adjustments? Sure. Getting a little bit better pitch to hit, of course. But it's not these changes that people want. Oh, that's the magic pill, or that's like the one thing that kickstarted this. It's trust and continuing to do the work, knowing that you belong in the moment.
So AJ Hinch talking about Spencer Torkelson. It's a really good soundbite. Andy McDonald putting it in for us. Torkelson through April 21st was batting just a $186. I tweeted this out yesterday. A $186, and his slug was 229. Didn't have a home run. Now, it may be a small sample size for you. I would argue both are small sample sizes. Up till April 21st is a small sample size, and I think that his recent push has been a small sample size. He's bumped his average up last 6 games to 236, and the slug has gone from 429 to 472 with 5 homers. If you're not going to judge a baseball team, this kind of comes full circle. Not setting up Andy. I'm just asking you the question, okay? Because when I asked Andy how long is enough, he said 40 games. It's fair. I think a lot of people feel that way. For me, it might be a little bit more than that, but not by much. It might be 50, okay? Doesn't mean you can't have an opinion on a specific player or team up until this point. It's kind of like what the Pistons are going through with Jalen Duren. Jalen Duren has been terrible in this series, period. Okay, you're not going to convince me otherwise. I'm not going to sit there and try to defend a guy who I like and who I have defended all season long. You got to own it. You got to wear it. You're wrong. You're wrong. Player's not playing well. He's not playing well. Full stop. Spencer Torkelson wasn't playing well. Wasn't swinging the bat well. Swing and a miss. Oftentimes too patient. It's a fine line between being patient and being a person who is just not even aggressive. And since that time, his numbers have gone up. If you don't think that's a big enough sample size, that's fair. I hope you weren't the person also saying he needs to be sent down to Toledo. It can be baseball's unlike any other sport. All right. Guy drops 3 passes, probably doesn't start the next game. Guy's not running the offense. He's 0 for 12 from the floor. He's missing defensive assignments. You're probably not starting him the next game in basketball. Guy's a -5, no shots taken, stumbling all over the ice. Probably not putting him on the power play, or maybe even in a 5-on-5. He may need to just sit in the stands for a little bit. Baseball, you rest a guy sometimes, you get him off his feet a little bit, you put him in a different part of the order, you try to gain some confidence within the player. There was speculation last two weeks ago, I believe it was, with Spencer Torkelson. Hey, you know what? Maybe he only plays against lefties and Colt Keith plays against righties. I pushed back on that. It wasn't popular. And I'm not saying I'm completely right here, nor am I suggesting that he's arrived, that he's fixed. No. If I'm going to concern myself with Jack Flaherty and his numbers that have not been very good, one should be concerned about Spencer Torkelson and his numbers that weren't very good until recently. But that is, I did say you should be rooting harder for him than just about anybody else. And some people questioned that, and I said, because he is the lone right-handed power hitter in this lineup. Now, Dylan Dingler's been pretty damn good in that regard too. All right. So this is, in fairness to Dylan Dingler, he's making things happen too. But other than that, I mean, if you're looking at Gleyber Torres to be a power hitter, you're going to be disappointed. Okay. Unless he turns into 2019 Gleyber Torres when he hit 38 bombs, which would be great. I mean, there's nothing wrong with 24, 25 homers. Okay. He's hit 24 homers or more 4 times in his career. That's great. But he's more at this stage of his career, many people would suggest. I mean, he's 30 years old, right, Andy? He's more like a 16 to 20 homer guy, which you'll take. I'm okay with that. I'm just talking. He plays a certain role. He hits a certain type of power number that you feel okay with. I'm fine with that.
If there's one thing you want Torkelson to do with what he's done so far, it's hit the ball to the ballpark. Probably.
Yeah, that's what he's got to do.
Exactly.
Okay. Look, like I said, would you love 2019 Gleyber Torres? Hell yeah. Would you love 2018 Javier Baez when he hit 38 bombs and drove in 134 bombs and drove in 111? Hell yeah. You're not getting that. So don't expect it. Baez had 12 homers last year. As a member of the Tigers, the most he's ever hit is 17. At the age of 33, don't you think that's kind of who he is right now?
Yeah, it's probably not coming back.
Okay, probably not. Like the power numbers of in a player's career, power numbers usually are the last thing to come and the first thing to leave. So Dylan Dingler, 5 homers. He had 13, I think, last season. I said at the beginning of the year, if he gives me 20, I'm really happy. That's a hell of a jump. You go from a short sample size, small sample size of 2 homers his first year, then his first full season to get 13. Listen, catcher at 20, 25 homers, I'm pretty happy with that. 25, okay? I think he'll eventually get there for sure. Spencer Torkelson has that right-handed power stick, okay? 31 homers or more in 2 of the last 3 years. So you should be rooting for him. That's what I would hope for. And this would be a big get if Detroit can get him on track right now. All right, let me get to some NBA and NHL stuff from yesterday. Then we'll dive into some Lions, of course, and a few other things that are. We've got Mondays with Mitch. Mitch Lyons joins us 7:18. And we've got, of course, Hero and Heel at 8:18. The Pistons, of course, are ready for Game 4 in Orlando tonight. They're down 2-1. You saw it Saturday. Is it a must-win situation? That's what a lot of people were asking me yesterday. I don't believe in must-wins until your proverbial back's against the wall, unless you're on the brink. So if you're down 3-1, like Edmonton is to Anaheim, that's a must-win. But this is the most important game. You sure don't want to go down 3-1, and you just haven't played the way you played during the regular season. There's a few mantras that will continue to expound that we'll get to when it comes to the Pistons if they lose tonight. Toronto beats Cleveland 93-89. They even the series. Scotty Barnes, Brandon Ingram had 23. The Cavs went 10 of 40 from 3. 10 of 40. Meanwhile, Boston hit a franchise record 24 triples. They blow out Philly 128-96. Peyton Pritchard had 32. Spurs had a big comeback in Portland. They beat the Blazers 114-93. De'Aaron Fox had 28 points, 6 boards, 7 assists. Victor Wembanyama added 27 points, 11 rebounds, 7 blocks. And the Spurs are up 3-1. The Rockets stave off elimination with a 115-96 win over the Lakers. It's an LA 3-1 series lead there. In the NHL, Buffalo blows past Boston 6-1. They're up 3-1. 4 different Sabres have multi-point games. Colorado completes the sweep of the Kings after a 6-1 win. Nathan McKinnon had 2 goals and an assist. Tampa trims Montreal 3-2. Brandon Hagel had 2 goals. That series is tied at 2. And Anaheim beats Edmonton 4-3 in overtime. The Ducks made their 10th multi-goal comeback, and they lead the series 3-1. They were down 2-0 at the end of 1. 2-0. And they able to come back. I said the Avs won 6-1. I'm sorry. It was 5-1. It was Boston who won 6-1. A couple of blowouts there. Here's the Mitch Lions Wealth poll question of the day. We have one for you every day. Who is your favorite Lions draft pick? Blake Miller, Derek Moore, Jimmy Rolder, or Keith Abney II? Vote as often as you want at XB Mornings. The results come your way in the 8 o'clock hour tomorrow. Some news from baseball in terms of a firing. Lions needed to address some things in the draft. That's what you told us, and they got it done. We'll talk about the Lions on the backside when we come back after this, brought to you by Mitch Lions Wealth.
Huge here for the Michigan High School Athletic Association. You can stay up to date on the latest from Lansing 24/7 at MHSAA.com, at MHSAA on Twitter, and MHSAA on Facebook. The latest news, press releases, and stories connected to every high school in the state of Michigan, available for you 24/7 from the Michigan High School Athletic Association. Log on to MHSAA.com, at MHSAA on Twitter, and MHSAA on Facebook. And if you're looking for archive boys and girls high school sports, MHSAA.TV. That's MHSAA.TV. 24/7, everything you need to know about high school sports in Michigan. Log on to MHSAA.com. How would you like to watch the Pistons in the playoffs on the biggest TV in Michigan? Well, you can get a huge deal and also get the biggest TV at your local ABC Warehouse store. You can shop online right now at abcwarehouse.com. They have locations all across Michigan. So if you want to watch the Pistons in the playoffs on the biggest TV in your neighborhood, go to your local ABC Warehouse store or shop online at abcwarehouse.com.
Where are you watching the Tigers this year? Superfly Hayes here for Detroit Sportsnet. Sign up like the Ute Show did with the Detroit Sportsnet Tigers Wings package. Subscription info at tigers.com and MLB.com.
mean, he's confident. These last 3 games haven't went the way he wants, or we might want for him, but I and the whole team have no doubt that he's gonna, figure it out. And he knows he's gonna figure it out, and so excited for the next game for him to plant his foot into the series.
It's Cade Cunningham after the loss the other night. Look, tough to blame Cade Cunningham. Dude's averaging 31 points per game. Now, you can be a little disappointed with the turnovers. I am. I've said this about him for a long time. I've said I worry about the looseness with the basketball. And I think it's a fair critique. Look, just because he's the best player on the team doesn't mean he can't be critiqued. We do that with players all the time. We do it with Dylan Larkin on a regular basis. Is he really a number 1 center? Cade Cunningham's a top 5 player in the league. He's going to be all NBA first team. No question. Great player. But even the greatest players have flaws. Even the greatest players have things they need to work on. Magic Johnson had to work on his 3-point shooting early in his career. And to his credit, he did just that. Michael Jordan, admittedly, had things to work on. Larry Bird, admittedly, had things to work on. It's not necessarily a knock. It's just a fact. Okay? So when you look at things like this, I mean, you got to take a look at it from a statistical standpoint and recognize that there are issues there. I mean, the average, when you're 4th in the league in turnovers per game, it's a bit of an issue. It's not an indictment on him as the player overall. 2 years ago, Trae Young led the league in turnovers. Cade Cunningham was 2nd. This past year, Luka Doncic led the league in turnovers per game, and Cade Cunningham's about 4th. So when I see him do what he's doing right now in the playoffs, to me, it's a little concerning. But he's also the guy who is keeping this team afloat. He was talking about Jalen Duren, who averaged 19.5 points per game. We'll round up for 20. He's averaging 9 in the playoffs. He averaged 10.5 rebounds per game. He averages 8. He has been the primary reason, not the only reason, but the primary reason this team has struggled so far. Let's hope he remains confident. Via text, our friend Freddie, always on point. Shep, what an embarrassment by a coach who is going to win Coach of the Year on his playing rotation. Playing starters who clearly shouldn't be playing versus bringing guys in that can play and can shoot. So I would like more specifics there. One of the easiest things to do in blaming coaches is blaming a basketball coach's rotation and a baseball manager's lineup. I want to know who's not playing, who should be playing. I want to know who is playing more in this series than they should be. And I know the first name that comes to mind is Jalen Duren. You want Paul Reed, perhaps. What's the difference between a manager or a coach trying to get one of their star players to the right place, the place that he has been all season long, compared to sitting him all together? Are you trying to tell me, and I've just brought this up, but I don't know who Freddie might be referring to there. Are you trying to tell me Jalen Duren shouldn't play at all? Big reason he gets you 60 wins. You've got to get him right if you're going to win the series.
Yeah, you have to stick with him. I don't think you can.
You have to.
You can't just make a switch. I mean, that'd be crazy at this point.
Now, should he be playing 31 minutes? if things are going poorly for him, which they are, could you reel it in? Sure. What's been one of the biggest problems for this team this year, or in the postseason, in these 3 games? Scoring, except for one game, except for game 2, right? Isaiah Stewart's not going to give you a ton of scoring, dude. He's not. Now, look, you want to make the argument for Paul Reed? I understand it. Okay, I'm not. I wouldn't be totally against it. I would still start Jalen Duren, but he would be on a much, much shorter leash if I were JB Bickerstaff. You don't. Who else do you think? I mean, he sat Ron Holland for the last game. He's peeled back the minutes of Dennis Jenkins. He's peeled back the minutes of Kevin Huerter. Right? I mean, I hate to tell you this. Guys who can play and shoot. Who's the guy who can, and he emphasized can, C-A-N, capitalized, who can play and shoot but aren't?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to figure out if you're going to take Jalen Duren out of the lineup. Like, nobody's shooting it that well.
You're trying to tell me that, I don't know, Karis LeVert can shoot?
But no, I don't.
Dennis Jenkins went 1 for 7 in the first game.
Yeah.
Okay. A lot of his points at the end of the year came against, some. I don't want to take anything away from it. It's not fair. But look, those games, come on. You want Dennis Jenkins in there. You want more minutes from him?
People want Paul Reed. They were asking for Paul Reed in the crowd both home games, I guess.
Well, that's who everybody wants. Sure. Yeah. But he said players who can play and can shoot. Javonte Green shooting 25%, man. Kevin Huerter shooting 28%. Too small of a sample size? Could be. Maybe that's the wrong statistic for them. But you're telling me who can shoot. He knows this, so I don't even need to bring this up, but just in case people, this team, the problem with this team during the regular season, even though they won 60 games, and we said this, is they needed to add a second shooter. They needed to add a second scorer. When you lose the guys you lost a year ago, Duncan Robinson filling in, fine. Duncan Robinson, I mean, how comfortable do you feel with him out there shooting? I feel really comfortable, but he's averaging about 10 points per game right now in the playoffs. I've said Jalen Duren is the primary reason, but there's other guys who have not played quite as well. It's interesting, isn't it? Tobias Harris was viewed, at least last year, as a guy who just fills up space on a roster, on a starting unit, and isn't very good in the playoffs. Dude's averaging, 19, 20 points per game in the playoffs? He hasn't been a problem. His shooting wasn't great in game 1.
No, but he's been good. He's been good in moments when they've needed him, it feels like. I mean, who else are they going to go to? And I mean, you did get 17 out of Asar last game, too. So, right. I mean, you got some scoring from some of your guys you wanted to see it from, that's for sure. But, yeah, I mean, it's still clear. They don't have another shooter to space the floor because Orlando can just do whatever they want inside to make it really, really hard on Duren to play his game, it seems like.
Yes, but that's up to Duren and JB Bickerstaff to fix that.
Yeah, okay? And that's going to be the key to the rest of the series. If they can't find a way to change that, they're not going to win the series.
They're not going to win the series. And look, I'll be honest, I like Paul Reed. I understand that. But, I mean, Paul Reed has turned into, he's turned into Dan Skipper, where everybody loves the guy and feels like he should be starting. I'm not that person. I think he should be getting more minutes? Yeah. I'm not going to disagree with anybody who says that. I don't know if that's who he's referring to. But he's acting like you've got all these players who can come in, play, and shoot, and they don't. They don't have those guys. That's been the knock on them, nationally and locally. Shep, Cade's a great player, but I've said it before, get a point guard, take him off the ball next year. The turnovers are ridiculous. Amen to that. This team is better off versus Orlando starting Sasser at point guard and Reed at center. Duren and Duncan coming off the bench. Many said the coach had to prove it in playoffs. So far, he has not. Okay, so no to Marcus Sasser. You talk about desperation. No to Marcus Sasser. Not doing that. I'm not panicking and bringing in a guy who during the season played 38 games because he was hurt a lot of times and suddenly giving him starting role. There are certain things that have to be earned. You want to start Paul Reed, bring Duren off the bench? That'd be unique, but I wouldn't be totally opposed to it. Give Jalen Duren a different look. Give him a chance to sit and watch for a little bit. Okay. Marcus Sasser, no. You want to make one insertion? You can't panic. You cannot do that in a series and suddenly upset everything. I mean, some people would argue Dennis Jenkins over Marcus Sasser. Look, Javonte Green's the only player to play 82 games. You want him to start too? And bring Duncan Robinson. Duncan Robinson would be best suited coming off the bench too next year. If you go out and you get a guy, Tyler Hero, who could shoot, be your starter, bring Duncan Robinson off the bench, that gives you a lot of power, a lot of shooting power off the bench. I'm not starting Marcus Sasser, for crying out loud. Dude started 5 games this year. He started 17 in his career, and you're going to put him in. You're going to start him in the playoffs. You're down 2-1. I wouldn't do that. Shep, luckily, Trajan Langdon said take a year to watch. He knew he deserves so much credit for seeing the warts first, but do hope that he tried to get the Greek Freak, James Harden, or Jaren Jackson at the deadline. I don't know if he tried to do any of those. I think when Trajan Langdon said that he's going to, I think there's a lot of people out there who are probably frustrated with that sentiment. You're going to sit there and you're going to tell us you're going to take a year to sit back and watch. I mean, how do you feel if you're a Tobias Harris, for example? Why is it okay that he didn't make a move at the trade deadline? Others didn't in this market, and you felt like they blew it. They missed a window. Brad Holmes doesn't make the move you want. Chastise him, get him out of here. Trajan Langdon doesn't make the move you want. Good for him. He's just sitting back and relaxing and judging this team. You won 60 games for just the 3rd time in franchise history. You had the best record in the Eastern Conference. Other teams were struggling. You don't think you could have beaten those other teams in a 7-game series if you added the needed shooter? Who were you holding on to? Ron Holland, who just was a DNP CD the other day? Do we keep the same credentials and do we have the same expectations for people throughout this market at these various teams? You didn't like that Scott Harris did at the trade deadline last year. Me either. You didn't like Steve Eisman's lack of movement except for Justin Falk. Me either. But I didn't like the Trajan Langdon didn't add either. At least I'm consistent.
No, and nobody really talks
before you
about
say,
that.
I'm sorry about that, Andy. Before somebody were to say, yeah, but the Pistons window and the Pistons weren't going to win this year. How do you know they weren't going to win this year? 60 wins? You don't think you could have beaten Cleveland in a series? Cleveland's 2-2 with Toronto. You don't think you could have beaten Boston in a series? Philadelphia's not very good. They didn't have Joel Embiid, and they won a game so far in that series. Boston's really good. That's, to me, the scariest team in the conference. But you would have loved to have gotten to the Eastern Conference Finals, wouldn't you?
Yeah, and you'd feel like adding to it would help. But
yeah, and what is it? If you don't add, you're proving a point. You do add. See, you didn't get there. Well, at least you got one more body in your rotation that is going to help you get to that level and hopefully give you the necessary urgency to add even one more to make it, there again.
No one has talked about the Pistons deadline the same way, I feel like, as the other teams. Like, I just don't feel like I hear about it as much as you heard about the other ones. Like, there's not as many complaints, I guess, that they didn't add a shooter.
We're caught up in euphoria that they did more than we expected. The other teams that did less.
Amen to that. Yep.
Right. Regular season, people expected the Tigers to win the division, rightfully so, and they didn't. Regular season, you expected the Lions to win the division, and rightfully so, and they didn't. regular season, especially the way it started, you expected the Red Wings to at least make the playoffs, and rightfully so, and they didn't. Even though the Red Wings play in a lot tougher division than the Lions, Tigers, or Pistons. It's really not even close. But Steve Yzerman has had a long runway and hasn't fulfilled what is expected of him. Shep, the problem with players and even some GMs in this town, like Green and Torkelson and Raymond and Goff and Duran and Steve and Brad, 4 or 5 years ago, this town was starving for any player or any team to win. Now most of the teams are winning, but not getting over the top. So fans are to the point, hit bombs, throw touchdowns, score goals, make trades at the deadline in the clutch moments. Fans just want titles now. They're tired of the decade of losing. Okay, I get that. I don't think you're wrong in that. I would just remind you that, from a baseball standpoint, Green and Torkelson, it's a long season. And you got to be careful there, okay? You got to be careful when it comes to the expectations. Is it early on? Is it throughout the season? It's such a long season. It can be too hyperbolic when it comes to just trying to, figure something out with a player and trying to jump to conclusions for it. Raymond, I'm with you. 80-point season to me is not enough. Goff, there's a little twinge of trepidation on my part because he was sacked so frequently a year ago. I noticed you bring up Stevie and Brad. Again, they easily leave out Trajan Langdon because Stevie's had the long runway and Brad hasn't delivered a Super Bowl. Right. Understood. Yep. I totally get that. We expected a Super Bowl by now. I expected at least a Super Bowl appearance. So I understand that. Clutch in big moments. I don't have a lot of, the numbers in front of me with Torkelson and Green and certain players. Cade Cunningham's been clutch in a lot of big moments this year throughout the season. I'm sure not going to complain about him. The others you put on there, Duran, Raymond, yep, Goff, for sure. I think it's on point. Shepard, are we sure that Duran or Cunningham will be all first team NBA? The way the NBC panel talks, they never mention him with the top guys. It's always the guys in the West, and Boston gets guys in the East. Well, I think it should be. You're right. I'm not positive that's going to happen. He should be first team all NBA. I don't know why he wouldn't be. Who would take his place? First team all NBA is going to be Victor Wembanyama, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Nikola Jokic. Who else? Luka Doncic. And it should be Cade Cunningham. Unless they put in Jaylen Brown. Then he might be second team. I think he'll be first team. Got to take a quick time out. We're at the top of the hour. 7:18 Mondays with Mitch. 8:18 we want your hero and heel. This is X's and Bros.
Hear that? That's the sound of saving a good deal more when you shop with M-Perks at Meijer. Some delicious Cosmic Crisp apples, money saved. Meijer Essential Paper Towels, that's money saved. Savings, savings, savings. Because every dollar spent is also points earned in M-Perks, which you can use to save on your next grocery trip or up to $1 off per gallon on your next tank of gas. At Meijer, we work hard to help you save a good deal more for a whole lot less. That's bringing more good to life. Exclusions apply. See mperks.com for details.
The Freddie the Pizza Man Foundation is dedicated to providing support to families and Michigan schools touched by autism. We invite you to join us in supporting these families and schools by making a donation at freddythepizzaman.com. With your donation, you can help provide essential resources that can make a real impact. Visit freddythepizzaman.com to make a donation and to learn more about the foundation's mission. That's FREDI thepizzaman.com. Together, we can make a difference.
Mitch Lyons here, founder of Mitch Lyons Wealth, where we create your best game plan to protect, grow, and win retirement. I'm here with Tiger legend Kirk Gibson, who we are proud to support and partner with on the newly opened Kirk Gibson Center for Parkinson's Wellness.
Thanks, Mitch. We appreciate your support, and we are excited to have recently opened the center in Farmington Hills. It provides exercise therapy and educational programs that are helping the Parkinson's community. Just like Mitch Lyons Wealth helps improve the quality for their clients' retirements, this center helps improve the quality of life for people with Parkinson's.
And Gibby, the best part of all is that access to the center is available to the Parkinson's community free of charge, right?
That's right, absolutely free of charge for people with Parkinson's and their care partners.
You hit a couple of the most famous home runs in Major League history, Gibby, but I feel that your greatest hit will be the positive impact the Kirk Gibson Center is making in the fight against Parkinson's.
Mitch, since my diagnosis, I get up every day and focus on winning that day. This center encourages others to do the same.
Awesome, Gibby. To learn more, go to kirkgibsoncenter.org.
Motown Legends, TNT, together again. Temptation. For Tops, Saturday night, May 9th at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. Tickets start at $55 and on sale now at the box office at etix.com. Saturday night, May 9th at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. Temps and Tops together again.
Make sure you listen weekly to our Moving Ferris Forward interviews with Ferris President Bill Pink and other leaders who are moving Ferris forward. Find out more about Big Rapids and Ferris and what they have to offer at ferris.edu.
Second hour of the program. Thanks for being with us here on X's and Bros throughout the state of Michigan. Always appreciate the feedback. Text line, Sports Radio 21,000. The Meyer hotline, 866-838-4843. We stream live on YouTube, on X, and on Facebook as well. I said this over the weekend that it's a fine line being patient with a hitter. A.J. Hinch does it better than anybody. Torkelson in his last 6, 9 for 22. That's a 409 batting average. 5 homers, 2 doubles, and 6 RBIs. And, of course, people, some taking that as, like suddenly he's back. And I'm just giving some facts, okay? It is a fine line for a manager or a coach or anybody taking out a player. We love to overreact. We are emotional when it comes to our teams. Hell, game 3, Pistons and Magic. I'm in a group text with some people. Detroit was down big. Forget exactly how many. Somebody wrote, "It's over." And I'm like, have you ever watched basketball? Have you ever noticed a run? Like Portland was up, 17 on San Antonio yesterday? Is that right, Andy? Did you? I'm sure you watched that game. You love watching a lot of the NBA. But I mean, San Antonio ends up winning 114-93. The Spurs were down. Let me see here, 19.
Yeah,
they were down 19.
A lot of possessions in the NBA, man.
Yeah.
Things can change really quick. It's
they won by 21.
Yeah, it's you can't. I mean, I understand. Like, if you're watching the whole Pistons game, I understand being negative to it leading to that point, and maybe thinking that they're not going to win the game. Saying that the game's over, though, I mean, all it takes in basketball. It's everybody says it, right? It's a game of runs. It just takes a second to, every now and again, you can get it right in the fourth quarter, is what I'm saying. Even if you don't play well, the whole game.
Absolutely. So a game is not necessarily like a season. Baseball they used to say you can't win a division in April, but you can lose one. In a game, you can be down 19 in the first quarter. It's not ideal, but you can stage a comeback because it is a game of runs. We know that. We are emotional. So a player's not playing well, sit him. Don't play him any longer. A coach has to look at it like, I need this dude. He's a key piece to it. It is in our success. So what are you going to do? You're just going to say, okay, you've gone from a starter and you're out. I'm out? Yeah, you're out. I wouldn't do that. Wouldn't do that at all. You've got to make some adjustments, and the player does too. Think about it for a minute. Jalen Duren was an all-star starter. Has a really good chance at being an all-NBA team member. He's getting outplayed by Wendell Carter. That's ridiculous. That should not happen. Don't kid yourself. As you sit there and try to convince yourself that he's not good enough, if you pick the Pistons to beat Orlando in this series, I mean, Andy, you and I picked them to beat Orlando in this series. Nobody thought it was going to be easy. If you did, you're crazy. But nobody thought it was going to be easy. One of the reasons you picked them is because of that guy.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's
right.
That is definitely a part of it. Yeah.
Okay. What has impressed you most about the Pistons' 60-win season this year? A lot of things. J.B. Bickerstaff's rotation, the depth of this team, the improved play of certain players. At times, Cesar Thompson, Jalen Duren's one of them. Tell me if I'm wrong here. All right. When your numbers go up in every category and you become a first-team All-Star, that means you have elevated your game. I think that's a fair deduction, right? Okay. If that's the case, a big reason they're not winning, he's a big reason you thought they were going to win. But a big reason they're not winning is because of him. For sure. We don't like being fooled. We don't like being proven wrong. I don't either. No one's disappointed as much in him as I am. But to sit there and say, I would just bench him and no longer play him, I think is really short-sighted, especially after 3 games. There are people in baseball is a tough example, all right? But you're gonna let a guy try to get through his hitting slump. Think of the various sports and how difficult it is if you're a manager or a coach and you've got a player who's struggling. Case in point, you got a basketball player who just can't shoot from the floor. Well, do you keep telling him to shoot his way out of it, or do you reel him in? That's a fine line. I'm not saying there's a right answer one way or the other. Baseball hitters, Dylan Dingler going 1 for 24. You and I just got done talking about it. He's one of the more impressive players this team has, right? Somebody tweeted at me, Dingler's 1 for his last 28. Didn't realize that.
Yeah, I wouldn't have been able to tell you that either. That definitely snuck.
Would you start playing Jake Rogers more, Andy?
I don't think anybody's saying that, no. Especially in sport like baseball. Yeah, you got to let him get out of it.
You got to let him get out of it. Now, there is going to come a point in time where it's like, okay, enough is enough.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, that's like Torkelson, when it comes to him, he did have a decent amount of time, and I get it. But at the same time, his track record, it's not like he's that bad, as bad as he was to start the season. It's probably somewhere
2 years ago he was. 2 years ago he was.
But it's probably somewhere more in the middle of how hot he's been and how bad he was as compared to, I mean, he's not hitting a home run every game the rest of the year. We know that, right? But,
yeah, that's what the expectation is. He's a 1-1, so this is what you've got to do, right? And they felt the same thing about Casey Mize. How many people wanted to give up on Casey Mize before last year? I'm done with him. Would they have been right? No, not at all. All-Star led his team in wins, and look at how good he's been so far this year. So far. If I'm going to reserve judgment on the team after 29 games, I'm going to reserve judgment on starting pitchers after 6 or 7 games. On what I expect of them is not going to change. On the other hand, I'm not going to sit there and ridicule them every single time. But you can say they weren't very good this. They haven't been very good this. Okay? It doesn't mean this is going to be the way they are the rest of the year. Shep, Trajan Langdon doesn't have the same credentials as Steve and Brad. Stevie and Brad were allowed the first 2 or 3 years to build their teams and also came into disastrous situations. Steve and Brad did that, and neither one of them have won. That's why they're getting heat now. Trajan will get his heat in year or 2 if he doesn't. Well, but Trajan Langdon turned his around faster. Expectations can change, can they not? Are you trying to tell me that every general manager in this town deserves to have a 7-year runway like Steve Yzerman?
Definitely not. But I think
Are you trying to tell me that every team that turns around, the reason your expectations for Brad Holmes, he's in year 6. At least he's won 2 divisions. Are you trying to tell me the 15-2 came quicker than most people thought, right? So your expectations for him changed immediately after they made the NFC Championship game. They made the NFC Championship game in year 3 or 4? Let's see here. It was year 4. So you're trying to tell me that because that's when it changed for you, for Brad Holmes. Now you expected the Super Bowl. You got 15-2, lost in year 1. You're pissed off. That's after year 5. Expectations for you changed when they made the NFC Championship game. Expectations for Trajan Langdon can change too after you win 60 games. After you go from 14 to 44, 44 to 60, they can change. We'll get Mitch Lyons' thoughts on it when we come back. Mondays with Mitch. We do it every Monday, 7:18. We're brought to you this hour by our friends at Meijer. You're watching and listening to X's and Bros on the Michigan Sports Network.
Mitch Lyons here, founder of Mitch Lyons Wealth, where we create your best game plan to protect, grow, and win retirement. I'm here with Tiger legend Kirk Gibson, who we are proud to support and partner with on the newly opened Kirk Gibson Center for Parkinson's Wellness.
Thanks, Mitch. We appreciate your support, and we are excited to have recently opened the center in Farmington Hills. It provides exercise therapy and educational programs that are helping the Parkinson's community. just like Mitch Lyons Wealth helps improve the quality for their clients' retirements. This center helps improve the quality of life for people with Parkinson's.
And Gibby, the best part of all is that access to the center is available to the Parkinson's community free of charge, right?
That's right, absolutely free of charge for people with Parkinson's and their care partners.
You hit a couple of the most famous home runs in Major League history, Gibby, but I feel that your greatest hit will be the positive impact the Kirk Gibson Center is making in the fight against Parkinson's.
Mitch, since my diagnosis, I get up every day and focus on winning that day. This center encourages others to do the same.
Awesome, Gibby. To learn more, go to kirkgibsoncenter.org.
Saturday night, May 23rd.
Carry on my wayward son.
Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort welcomes multi-platinum legends, Kansas. Tickets start at $60 and are on sale now at the box office or etix.com. Don't miss the best of classic rock. Kansas returns to Soaring Eagle Saturday, May 23rd. SoaringEagleCasino.com.
Where are you watching the Tigers this year? Superfly Hayes here for Detroit Sports Net. Sign up like the Ute Show did with the Detroit Sports Net Tigers Wings package. Subscription info at tigers.com and MLB.com.
What's up, Michigan? You're listening to Shep. Don't forget the Huge Show later today at 3 on the Michigan Sports Network.
If you're the largest selling comedy recording artist in history,
You might be a redneck.
Jeff Foxworthy, Friday, June 12th, inside the Soaring Eagle Entertainment Hall.
Our parents can't text and our children can't write.
Tickets start at $60 and are on sale now at the box office and online at etix.com. Laugh it up at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort, Friday, June 12th with Jeff Foxworthy.
My father-in-law got his chest hair caught in his zipper.
SoaringEagleCasino.com.
Love our Mondays, that's for sure. 18 after the hour. Welcome back. We are brought to you this hour by our friends at Meyer. At 7:18 on Mondays, we do Mondays with Mitch Lyons, and MitchLyonsWealth.com. If you're considering retirement, if you're trying to save for retirement, the place to go is MitchLyonsWealth.com, or call him today, 866-85-STEEL. That's 866-85-STEEL. You can get a digital copy of his book, Retirement of Steel, free on the website. You get a streaming code for the documentary that he is in, Retirement Deception. And right now, to protect people, you can go there to make sure that a Roth blueprint offer is right for you. Call and speak with the pros at Mitch Lyons Wealth to see if a Roth conversion makes sense to you. Go to MitchLyonsWealth.com. Hope you had a good weekend, my friend. How are you?
Had a great weekend, Shep. How are you?
Good. You always have great weekends. I like that. I bet you some of your weekend, not all of it, and it shouldn't be, some of your weekend, though, was spent watching the NFL draft. What'd you think of the Lions draft picks overall?
Well, I thought they checked the boxes where they needed to, right? And time will tell whether their analysis was correct in terms of the talent level of all these guys. It looks good on paper. I love the Blake Miller pick. You and I talked a lot about that, what they were going to do, and clearly they were playing their cards close to their vest on the Penei Sewell move to left tackle, which I love. I mean, he was a left tackle in college. I love having that protection on the backside of Jared Goff, and by all accounts, Blake Miller can fill the gap at right tackle now. So that's an improvement. We went out and got an edge rusher in Derek Moore, which Lord knows we need help on the defensive line. Hopefully he can bring some pressure. Got a kid that probably is a good, trend filling in the linebacker room and more in the Anzalone mold. So hopefully he can, Jimmy Rolder can help there. And got a cornerback, which we know we need some depth in the secondary. So I think overall pretty good, but time will tell. It's kind of like the draft back in the days when college football was predicated on what you got in your recruiting class. I always said, give it 2 or 3 years to tell me how good the class was. And that's true with the NFL draft as well. It's not an exact science.
I know how much you like Blake Miller. I thought you did a really nice job of talking about that with us at the end of last week. But overall, after that, who did you like most if you're the Detroit Lions? Blake Miller's one guy, of course, but then you had Derek Moore, you mentioned Jimmy Rolder, you mentioned Keith Abney II out of Arizona State. He's the cornerback. Kendrick Law, a little puzzling at a wide receiver, but when you watch his film, you see how explosive he can be. Skylar Gill-Howard is a defensive tackle out of Texas Tech, and Tyree West is an edge rusher out of Tennessee. Who did you like besides Blake Miller? Who was your favorite pick?
Well, I think you had to go get an edge, right? We talked about that ad nauseum. They've got to get somebody that can get to the quarterback, and you hope Derek Moore can be that guy. Out of those other picks, it was a little bit of a head scratcher that they went wide receiver, but if Kendrick Law can return kicks as well, and if he, if all of a sudden he's that fourth receiver too, that looks pretty good in round 5. So we'll see. I mean, they don't beyond their top 3 receivers. There's some juggling going on there. There's opportunity to stand out and grab that fourth receiver spot. So we'll see how that goes. But if they hit on any, I always say 4, 5, 6, 7. If you get a kid that's going to contribute, that's pretty good through those rounds and and add depth and hopefully help the team overall.
There are some people, I don't know if I agree with the word reach all the time in the NFL draft. It's basically where a guy was supposed to go according to most mocks or most quote unquote experts, and where he did go. And Derek Moore was taken 11 spots ahead. I'll give you an example. Jahmyr Gibbs in 2023, the pre-draft pick for him was 33, and the Lions took him at 12. So people thought that was a huge reach. People felt like San Francisco did the same. I don't know if Derek Moore is a reach, but I do have 2 questions regarding football, and then I'll shift gears. One is Derek Moore has seen more of a bull rush type of guy. At 6'4", 6'5", 255, 260 pounds. Do you anticipate that working at the next level? And then secondarily, Penei Sewell moving from right tackle to left tackle, what will be that biggest adjustment, if at all, for him?
You can't be a one-trick pony when it comes to rushing the passer, right? So he's going to have some complementary moves. It's great to be stout and have a strong full rush for sure. If you saw the way he destroyed the Miami tackle, I think it was down at the Senior Bowl or whatever wherever that was. He's got some strength. So he's working with a guy in Hutch that's pretty talented, got some moves. So hopefully he can improve, some of those ancillary moves and be able to use that bull rush to his advantage as the threat it is, and be able to have some complementary moves to do that. As far as Penny, I don't see that being a problem at all, Shep. I mean, he played there in college. He's a great athlete. And I love, if I'm Jared Goff, I'm so happy to have Penei Sewell on the backside. I mean, we saw it all last year. Goff, was under duress. Wasn't the same quarterback. Nobody is. No quarterback's the same when you're under pressure. It's just you're not as accurate, and we saw that. And so solidifying those tackle spots is huge in my mind.
It's Mondays with Mitch Lyons, and MitchLyonsWealth.com joining us here on X's and Bros as he does every Monday. By the way, Pittsburgh, where you played the bulk of your career, and I know enjoyed it. It's such a cool city. It's an underrated city. They set an NFL record for number of people at the draft on day one. Okay, for the first day. Detroit holds the record for overall. But I thought Pittsburgh did a really nice job of, representing the city and the football crazed fans there. Did you ever think that the draft would be this big when you got drafted?
Man, it wasn't anywhere near this, right? I mean, the first few picks would go to New York, and that was about it, right? And you sat at your TV. I sat at my apartment in East Lansing and waited for hopefully my name to come across the ticker on the bottom. Got a call right before it did, and that was it. But no, I mean, the NFL is a marketing machine. I mean, it's one thing after another. It's the Super Bowl, then it's the combine, then it's free agency, then it's the draft. Now we'll get to mini camps, then you get to the schedule release and all that. I mean, it's always one thing after another, and they've turned this drafting into an incredible fan experience. And I agree with you, Shep. Pittsburgh is an incredible town. It's a beautiful downtown area. And I thought it was so cool on their first pick when they played Renegade and had the highlight video going of the 70s teams and all that. And that was really cool. And I thought it was a neat experience for all the fans there.
I'll tell you what I'd like to see them do. Instead of playing internationally all the time, and I don't disagree with it, okay, but you talked about them as a marketing machine. I would love to see them go into cities who don't have an NFL team. Once a year, pick a city, Portland, and have a team play in Portland, San Antonio, and have a team play in San Antonio. That's the next step I'd like to see the NFL do. Grow it. It's still growing, but grow it internationally, but you can also grow it domestically as well. The Pistons play tonight, game 4 in Orlando. They're down 2-1. What's your level of concern for this team?
Pretty darn concerned at this point, Shep. And the reason being is, I mean, we're just getting outplayed. And obviously, this is a must-win game. You can't go down 3-1. Not that it's over, but it wouldn't be good. So we're going to learn a lot about this team tonight. Orlando's not playing in fear. I mean, they've come out and played pretty well. Obviously, we handled them in game 2 the way we came out after halftime. But other than that quarter, I mean, they've played us pretty doggone competitively every game and aren't playing from a place of fear. So you can throw the seeds out at this point. They've got a 1-game lead. They've got the home court advantage. And we are, we've got to rise to the challenge. And every player in that locker room has got to take a good long look in the mirror and raise their level of play and get this thing over the hump tonight.
Well, you'll be watching it. I'll be watching it as well. We'll be rooting for the Pistons, that's for certain. Have a great week, my friend. Thanks as always. Always appreciate the insight, especially from the NFL and the Pittsburgh standpoint. Such a cool place to go when you see the football and the baseball stadiums next to one another. I understand why you enjoyed it so much there and why you were so productive there. Have a great week, okay? We'll talk soon.
All right, Shep. Hopefully Torque keeps hitting bombs. Go Tigers.
Yeah. See, I mean, that's a quick turnaround, but we need it for an extended period of time, right? Absolutely. All right, my buddy Mitch Lyons, MitchLyonsWealth.com. He's got a great event coming up this summer that we're going to talk about a little bit later on, too, that we would encourage you all to get involved in. We'll do that as we move forward. But quick time out here on X's and Bros, brought to you by Meyer.
Huge here for Josh Garvey and his team at Dorn Mayhew. Now, Josh oversees the West Michigan operations. Dorn Mayhew's worldwide headquarters are in Troy, Michigan, on the east side of the state. They are one of the top accounting, CPA, and business firms in the world. They continue to grow. They can help your business with any accounting, CPA, or business need you have. And also Dorn Mayhew and Josh and the West Michigan operation, they present Talking Hoops with John Beeline. We do it every Tuesday on the Huge Show through the NBA Finals. So how far will the Pistons go in the playoffs? You can hear Coach Beeline, Josh Garvey, and myself every Tuesday on the Huge Show as we talk hoops, presented by one of the world's top accounting, CPA, and business firms, Dorn Mayhew. Josh Garvey oversees the West Michigan operation. Their worldwide headquarters for Dorn Mayhew are in Troy, Michigan.
Farrah's Coffee has been family-owned and operated for over 100 years. Its popular Den Blend and Dark Roast is more than coffee and more than the official coffee of the Detroit Lions. It's a call to rise. Farrah's Coffee and the Lions are the perfect match. They embrace those who show up early, cheer loud, and never back down. Den Blend is perfectly roasted in Grand Rapids and provides the ultimate fuel for fans who wake up and roar. Whether you're tailgating at the game or cheering from your couch, Den Blend is your go-to coffee for your game day ritual.
Where are you watching the Tigers this year? Superfly Hayes here for Detroit Sportsnet. Sign up like the Huge Show did with the Detroit Sportsnet Tigers Wings package. Subscription info at tigers.com and MLB.com.
What's up, Michigan? You're listening to Shep. Don't forget the Huge Show later today at 3 on the Michigan Sports Network.
able to get some guys that we had ranked way higher that fell for whatever reason. I'm not really worried about that. We're not worried about that. We're just thrilled that we have them. So that's kind of how it exceeded my expectations. But all of them, every single last one of them, they are complete true fits. Like these guys are lions. Like I know technically they are, yes, but they fit everything that we're about. So we got some good football players.
That's Brad Holmes, really pleased with his draft. How would you grade this draft? Welcome back, X's and Bros. This is the easy thing. I'm sure everybody's doing it, but that doesn't mean that it's not an important thing and something that I think you want to hear about. So how would you grade this team's draft for 2026, knowing that in round one they took Blake Miller, the right tackle out of Clemson? I think it's fair to assume, look, everybody's got to compete. You go into an NFL camp with 90-plus players, knowing that only 54 are going to make your squad and only 48 are going to dress on Sunday. I think it's fair to say everybody has to compete. Now, some positions are going to be more competitive than the others. The starting right tackle, the starting left guard will be more competitive than the starting left tackle, the starting right guard, and the center. I don't think there's anybody on this team going to beat out Jahmyr Gibbs. No one's beating out Amon-Ra St. Brown. I doubt Jared Goff is going to get replaced. Sam Laporte is healthy. He's the starting tight end. There are givens, right? Aiden Hutchinson isn't losing his job to DJ Wanham. I mean, if you and I sat down right now, we would say we could both agree on what most of the starters are. Penei Sewell at left tackle, question mark at left guard. Cade Mays is your center. Tate Ratledge is your right guard. And your right tackle is Blake Miller. If Blake Miller in the offseason wants to eat at a fast food restaurant every single night and not come in shape, then that could be a problem. I don't view him as that player. So I think he's going to be your right tackle. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jamison Williams, Isaac Tesla, Sam Laporta, Jahmyr Gibbs, Jared Goff, your quote-unquote skill position players. Your offense is basically set except for left guard. If you and I looked at the defense, it's a little different. Two safeties when healthy, but Brian Branch, even though he's progressing well, in all likelihood doesn't start the year. Your corners, Terry Arnold, as long as he's not in jail, and DJ Reed. Maybe, just maybe, Keith Abney beats one of them out. He'll get playing time, but he's going to have to compete with others, McCreary, Rakestraw, others in that defensive secondary. Okay? Linebackers, we know Jack Campbell's going to be your linebacker. We know Aiden Hutchinson, Aleem McNeil, Tyleek Williams, and you hope Derek Moore. There's a few more question marks on the defensive side of the ball. I don't know if Jimmy Rolder is going to be their starting linebacker. He's going to be in the mix. He'll compete for it. I think that's all fair to say. But when you look at it, Blake Miller in round one, Derek Moore in round two. They had no third-round pick. Yes, my hope was that they were going to trade up, but no third-round pick. Jimmy Rolder in round four. In round five, Keith Abney, the cornerback out of Arizona State. Kendrick Law, the wide receiver out of Kentucky, was their second fifth-round pick. Skylar Gill Howard, the defensive tackle out of Texas Tech at in the sixth round, and Tyree West, the edge rusher in round 7. What Brad Holmes did probably as well this year as any other was doubling down on positions of need. He brought in some talent from other organizations and then doubled down drafting a lot of those. Case in point, he brings in Larry Borum on a 1-year deal worth about $5 million from Miami. They like him at right tackle. They draft a right tackle. They brought in an edge in DJ Wanham, and they drafted an edge on Derek Moore. And later on, of course, in Tyree West. There was a point in time then in round 1, Blake Miller gets drafted. Friends of mine who were pissed off they didn't take an edge said, our edge rusher's DJ Wanham. I had to text them back. There are 7 rounds in an NFL draft. The Lions have 8 more picks. That was at the time because they traded one of the 6. And I'm pretty confident they're going to get an edge rusher. The response was, Brad doesn't know how to draft edge rushers. My response, he drafted Aiden Hutchinson.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I'm just, that's all.
Who did he take again? What
Yeah,
guy?
exactly. I know. It's amazing how people they lose their minds when it comes to this stuff. Inside and outside. Roger McCreary, good player. Sign him in free agent. What do? Drafted a corner, Keith Abney, who many people is one of the steals of the draft that we'll get up to. They signed Damon Clark, a linebacker. What did they do? Drafted Jimmy Rolder. They didn't feel like it was done, right? They signed a returner at a slot, Greg Dortch. They drafted Kendrick Law. Those 2 guys will compete. They signed Cade Mays as a center. They also, Juice Struggs can play guard or center. All right. They are younger. They are deeper. It'll be more competitive. All those things they have done better this offseason. I'm not trying to convince you that Brad Holmes is Howie Roseman. All right. I'm not trying to tell you that Brad Holmes has arrived, learned from any mistakes he may have made in the past, and that he should be GM of the year. I'm just telling you what they have done so far. People always say he doesn't draft defense. He's in love with his offense. Your offensive players, think about any team in the National Football League. Usually the biggest names are on offense. They are. Seattle can talk about their defense, and their defense was fantastic. Mike McDonald's a really good coach. When you think Seattle, what do you think? Jackson Smith and Jigba? People couldn't believe that Kenneth Walker III left for Kansas City, right? Okay. How did Sam Darnold win a Super Bowl before Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen and Joe Burrow? Yeah, okay. Remember this. Detroit drafted 3 defensive linemen out of their picks. More than half of their draft picks. Offense, round 1. Defense, 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 offense, defense, defense. So Blake Miller and Kendrick Law are the offensive players. The defensive players, Derek Moore, Jimmy Rolder, Keith Abney, Skylar Gill-Howard, and Tyree West. They had 7 draft picks. 5 of them went to defense. What did I tell you last week? Brad Holmes had drafted 36 players. And I asked Andy, how many offense, how many defense? 19 defense, 17 offense. Ironically enough, I mean, he drafts more out of the SEC and more out of Alabama. Didn't take an Alabama player this year. So think about it for a minute. 3 of the 7 picks were defensive linemen. 5 of the 7 were on defense. So there's a lot of different things that this team likes about certain players. The RAS score was off the charts for Blake Miller and Jimmy Rolder. He scored a 9.53 on the RAS score out of a possible 10. That ranked 165 out of 3,500 linebackers from 1987 through last year. That came from NFL. That's a hell of a job. And Brad Holmes had mentioned one specific thing. He said, some of our players we had ranked higher and we were able to get them at a lower spot. Case in point, enter Keith Abney. Keith Abney is the cornerback out of Arizona State, and he was drafted in round 5. Here's what Brad Holmes had to say about Keith Abney.
Abney was the same thing. We've evaluated Abney, multiple times throughout this process, dating back to last fall, and every single time, I always enjoyed. I think he might tilt a little bit more in the nickel, but at this level. But I do think he can play outside for sure. But he's another instinctive guy that he can find the football. He can trigger. He can tackle. He's pretty sticky. He was just a simple one because we had him ranked, a couple rounds higher than where he was. So that was a no-brainer for us.
Everybody, thanks to DetroitLions.com, everybody that you looked at had him ranked higher than that. A little smaller, 5'10", 187. When you look at Scouts Inc., there's various websites, various places you can go if you want. Okay, go ahead. I mean, I'm not saying one is the best. There are certain places I really like, certain places that I avoid. And I told you 2 weeks ago that I really like Dane Brugler and the Beast out of The Athletic. I think he does a really good job. When we had Nick Baumgartner on last week, we said as much. Hey, thanks to Dane Brugler, he's really helped educate a lot of different people, and he's helped educate us too. When you look at it, Keith Abney, he had Keith Abney ranked as his 9th best cornerback.
I mean, that's in the 9th round right away. That's or not 9th round, 5th round.
No,
sorry.
Yeah, 5th round.
5th round ranked 9th overall.
Here are the players he had ahead of them: Mansour Delane, Jermod McCoy, Chris Johnson, Avian Terrell, Colton Hood, D'Angelo Pons, Brandon Sisse, Traden Stukes. Then he had Keith Abney. And this is what he wrote about Abney. Has the tools and temperament to be an NFL starter, despite being undersized. He's only 21 years old, okay? He was one of the most productive corners in the FBS, registering 21 passes defended, 5 interceptions over his final 25 starts. A completion rate percentage when targeted of just 44.5%. That ranked 4th in FBS among corners who saw 60-plus targets. He may be undersized, but he's feisty. He's got athletic balance. He's got core strength, and he's got endurance. He's got a competitive line, high alert zone. He has an outstanding read, react, twitch in his plant and drive depth. That's what they say. Great feet, great leverage, see things well. Now, sure, there are times where he's undisciplined. All of us are. I'll have one more beer before the night is over. Wrong answer, right? So the physicality part of things, his height and weight, nothing he can do about that now. He's not, he can't do what Barry Bonds did and make his head grow bigger, his feet grow bigger, even though he's a grown man. He's not getting taller. Okay. I don't care how much you get on a stretch machine, you're not getting taller. Okay. What can he do with what God has given him? He's done pretty damn well. So when we look at certain players moving forward from this draft class, remember that one, because this is a kid who was expected to go a lot sooner than when he did.
And you usually don't get a write-up on, I'm going to go on a whim and say you don't get a write-up about a 5th round draft pick like that usually. I mean, there's a lot of things to like there about what a guy that is that highly touted of a writer is saying.
100%. Here's what Scout Inc. wrote about him. He lacks the ideal length for an NFL cornerback, but he has muscle on his frame. He is quick in short areas, using sound footwork to make fast, decisive cuts in any direction. Abney looks quicker on film than his true top speed, but that doesn't stop him from staying in phase with receivers. He can bite too early on initial route stems, allowing for separation or big plays, but he has displayed the quickness to make up ground and contest the catch. Being able to guard bigger receivers will be a test for him at the next level. He could also become a stronger tackler, might have some issues competing when stretched vertically. Every single Scout Inc. wrap-up of every player is going to bring up the positives and the negatives of a player. his positives, Keith Abney's positives, heavily outweigh his negatives. The overall rank, they have him as player number 79. Think about that. They expected him to be an early third-round draft pick, and Detroit got him in the 5th round. Now, I'm not saying this is the be-all, end-all, okay? I'm not going to try to convince you that Brad Holmes gets an A+ because of this, because quite honestly, I personally gave him a B. There are certain players I wanted. That doesn't mean I'm right. There's just certain players I wanted. I'm good with their picks. I wanted Monroe Freeling. He took Gabe Miller. I wanted Gabe Akis. He took Derek Moore. I wanted denied Dennis Sutton out of Penn State. He took Jimmy Rolder. I wanted Cole Payton. And who did he take? I forget who he took. He took Keith Abney. That's okay. I mean, doesn't mean I'm right. I thought a backup quarterback would have been a good spot there in the 5th round. And Cole Payton, I believe, would have been there for them. Philadelphia took him soon thereafter. Via text. You can text us 21,000, sports radio to 21,000. Give us a call on the Meyer hotline, 866-838-4843. Or you can chime in on the comments section on YouTube, on Facebook, and on X. Let's see here. Brad always signs free agents, then drafts the same position too. Detroit Lions starting quarterbacks never get replaced because they never draft quarterbacks to develop. Maybe once every 5 to 7 years, they'll do it half-heartedly. Yeah, that's hard to argue there. I mean, obviously they drafted Stafford 1-1, but other than that, yeah, I mean, Dan Orlovsky was a 5th-round draft pick. You're right. They do not draft quarterbacks to develop them for some reason or another. Oh, wait a minute. Hendon Hooker was a 3rd-round pick. So they did draft one. It didn't work out very well.
It did not work out. And people liked it at the time, I think, when they did it too. So and he was injured coming in. So
yeah, people loved it, dude. They loved it. When he was drafted, he was the Messiah, man. He seriously. He was walking on olive branches.
Already better than Goff.
Already better than Goff. Yeah. Shep, Brad admitted the Kentucky wide receiver. He first started scouting at Alabama, then he transferred to Kentucky and lost track of him. So there's your Alabama connection. Shep, I know what I will be watching for the next 5 years. The Lions traded with the Jets pick 50 so they can take the Michigan defensive end, and the Jets took the Indiana corner, D'Angelo Pons. I'll be watching those two for the next 5 years. Yeah, comparing one to the other, right? Somebody had said over the weekend that, you know, the Lions taking close to home guys was a problem. I don't think they give a rat's ass where they played their college ball. Is there a tinge toward the SEC? Yep. I think a lot of teams feel that way. And maybe Alabama. You could understand why. I mean, if you're the same person who's telling me all these 5 stars are going to a certain place, Alabama's getting a lot of those 5 stars. You know damn well they were coached well by Nick Saban. But just because they went there doesn't mean they were great for you. Hi, Ashawn Robinson. But you can understand why they're doing that. They didn't care that Jimmy Rolder and Derek Moore went to Michigan. It's how they graded them and who they played against. We've got Ed 18. We've got your hero and heel. That's coming up in the final hour of X's and Bros. We're brought to you by Meyer.
Huge here for the Michigan High School Athletic Association. You can stay up to date on the latest from Lansing 24/7 at MHSAA.com, at MHSAA on Twitter, and MHSAA on Facebook. The latest news, press releases, and stories connected to every high school in the state of Michigan, available for you 24/7 from the Michigan High School Athletic Association. Log on to MHSAA.com, at MHSAA on Twitter, and MHSAA on Facebook. And if you're looking for archive, boys and girls, high school sports, MHSAA.TV. That's MHSAA.TV. 24/7, everything you need to know about high school sports in Michigan. Log on to MHSAA.com.
If you're the largest selling comedy recording artist in history,
You might be a redneck.
Jeff Foxworthy, Friday, June 12th, inside the Soaring Eagle Entertainment Hall.
Our parents can't text and our children can't write.
Tickets start at $60 and are on sale now at the box office and online at etix.com. Laugh it up at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort, Friday, June 12th with Jeff Foxworthy.
My father-in-law got his chest hair caught in his zipper.
SoaringEagleCasino.com.
Where are you watching the Tigers this year? Superfly Hayes here for Detroit Sports Net. Sign up like the Ute Show did with the Detroit Sports Net Tigers Wings package. Subscription info at tigers.com and MLB.com.
Farrah's Coffee has been family owned and operated for over 100 years. Its popular Den Blend and Dark Roast is more than coffee and more than the official coffee of the Detroit Lions. It's a call to rise. Farrah's Coffee and the Lions are the perfect match. They embrace those who show up early, cheer loud, and never back down. Den Blend is perfectly roasted in Grand Rapids and provides the ultimate fuel for fans who wake up and roar. Whether you're tailgating at the game or cheering from your couch, Den Blend is your go-to coffee for your game day ritual.
Motown Legends, TNT, together again. Temptation. For Tops, Saturday night, May 9th at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. Tickets start at $55 and on sale now at the box office and etix.com. Saturday night, May 9th at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. Temps and Tops together again.
This is the most capital that we've had on day 3, probably since we've been here, if I'm right on that. And I kept saying before the draft started, I was most excited about day 3. You know, and it was like, okay, we gotta get first round right, we gotta get second round right, but we're just so excited about just all the capital. But it actually even exceeded my expectations in terms of the players that we were able to get, and just maximize the resource that we had on day 3. So really, just couldn't be more thrilled with all 3 days.
With what he and his staff were able to do over the weekend in a what many people thought was a really big, really important draft for sure. Welcome back, X's and Bros, Monday through Friday, 6 until 9. Freddie said this. He sent us a text. He said, "I loved the pick of Hendon Hooker a while back. It didn't work out here. It doesn't mean you stop trying." I don't disagree with that. I think the question would be, at what point do you reach is probably the wrong word. At what point are you sacrificing a player who would help you on the field of play get to where you want to go compared to a player you know is not going to play? I would have done that in the 5th round with Cole Payton. Next year's a stronger quarterback class. They may do that. I don't know. I don't feel great about Teddy Bridgewater as their backup quarterback. And then I look at a lot of other teams and I wonder who would have been a really suitable person to have as a backup quarterback that I would, feel really good about. There are certain guys, Jacoby Brissett, who now is a starter in Arizona. I mean, did you want him to draft Carson Beck? I didn't. Did you want him to draft Drew Aller? I didn't. Did you want him to draft Garrett Nussmeier? Maybe as a 7th round guy. Maybe. We'll have to wait and see. That quarterback, whoever it is you would have drafted, would have had to sneak by and be a practice squad player because you're not carrying 3 quarterbacks. You have too deep of a roster right now to carry 3 quarterbacks. So you're not going to do that. So that's the thing you and I have to understand. All right? You got to understand that this is a situation where you're carrying 2 Qs. If you think a 5th round pick is going to be your backup, so I'm talking to myself here. You think a 5th round draft pick is going to be your backup quarterback if Jared Goff gets injured week 2. You know what you would do? You would immediately hit the waiver wire. You would do what Minnesota did and go in to get Carson Wentz.
Absolutely,
which is
yeah.
what you and I would want, right?
Yeah.
Cole Payton, Drew Aller, I don't care who it is, outside of maybe Fernando Mendoza, maybe Ty Simpson. You and I would be asking them, please bring Jimmy Garoppolo out of retirement. That's what we would want. You wouldn't want your 5th round draft pick starting games for you. You wouldn't. This was not a good draft class. But it does beg the question, how far is far enough? Look, you had 5th rounders, right? Would you have been okay if they drafted like I wanted? Okay, so I'm in this with you. Like I wanted a 5th rounder, used a 5th round draft pick on a quarterback instead of Jimmy Rule, or instead of a Keith Abney or a Kendrick Law, right? But Cole Payton was gone by the time they chose Kendrick Law, I believe. I got to go back and look at that. I think it was Keith Abney. So would you have wanted that? I think a lot of people would have. Would you have wanted Garrett Nussmeier instead of Kendrick Law or instead of Skylar Gilhoward? I mean, that's up to you. I'm not taking a quarterback for the sake of taking a quarterback. I've got to be sold on the guy because there are other players on this team that you're going to really like. And that quarterback better be good enough to beat out Teddy Bridgewater, or bad enough, I suppose, if you want to look at it that way, of not making this team, and you're going to hide him on the practice squad. Which ought to tell you something, too, if that's the case. Shep, if we're not allowed to give up on young players here in Detroit, doesn't mean we should give up on a guy like Hooker until he's officially out of the league. I don't think, correct me if I'm wrong here, Andy, Hendon Hooker wasn't on anybody's roster last year, was he?
I don't think so. I don't remember him getting picked up by anybody when he got cut. So unless I mean maybe a practice squad somewhere, but
yeah, he didn't play. He didn't make.
Definitely wasn't on. No, he wasn't on anybody's bench being their backup. That's for sure.
Yeah, yeah. That's not happening. You can give. Well, look, there's a few things. He was injured, so that doesn't speak well. We're going to sit there and rip on Brad Holmes for drafting injured players. That's one of the guys who was injured. All right. And then when you look at Hendon Hooker, where he was taken 68th overall. Who were some of the guys taken after him? Byron Young was taken after him. Pretty good player. Oh, by the way, out of Alabama? Yes. Very good player. That's just one example. Okay. Tucker Kraft, the tight end for Green Bay, was taken after him. There's plenty of people who passed on certain players. All right. Kobe Turner for the Rams. He's a starter for one of the better teams in football. He was taken after him. So I get it, and everybody misses. Okay. San Francisco 49ers missed. I'm taking Jake Moody. Teams miss. It's how you recover from those misses. I'm not saying you're not allowed to give up on young players. I'm asking you, how long is long enough? When a guy's been around for a few years, played 3 games, looked terrible in those 3 games, has an injury history, and is easily replaceable, it's okay to say I'm giving up on him. Giving up on a player who has 500 at-bats or 600 plate appearances is different than a quarterback who is injured, looks awful even in preseason, can't seem to grasp the offense, nobody else wants.
Yeah, it's not he was a hot commodity getting picked up, right? So, and I think I'm not sure if the texter was trying to, make the point of giving up on young players. I'm not sure if he was trying to relate that to like the Torkelson conversation earlier in the show or whatnot. But if it was in baseball, it's much different. Like players develop a lot slower than they do in football. I mean, how many times do you see a rookie quarterback get drafted high in this draft and come in and play right away? It's just different.
And then you have other guys. Undrafted free agents. Luke Altmaier, for the Illinois quarterback, the Lions signed him. So there's a way to get your quarterback. He was high completion percentage, good pocket presence. People like him. What about Eric Hunter? Eric Hunter signed a 3-year, $3 million contract with the Lions, including $25,000 signing bonus, $175,000 guaranteed. It's an average salary of about $1 million. You don't see that happen for undrafted free agents. And yet he did. So there are things that they are willing to do that are a little bit more unconventional, I think. There are teams that do this, so they have history of it. Look, Philly's a really good example of it. The Philadelphia Eagles drafted Cole Payton. Okay? They have a quarterback, do they not? Yeah, they do. They got a quarterback who was the MVP of the Super Bowl, for crying out loud. And yet, they still brought in Cole Payton in the 5th round. Here's what many people said, though. When you look at the depth chart, and obviously it's Jalen Hurts, many people don't feel like Cole Payton's going to beat out Tanner McKee. I mean, unless they make a trade. But that's not happening. They also have Andy Dalton on their roster. When you look at Philly, and Philly is oftentimes viewed as the blueprint, they've raised the bar. Howie Roseman has raised the bar in NFL and how he goes about making deals. Think of those 4 quarterbacks. I don't know how you feel about Jalen Hurts, but you got Jalen Hurts. Tanner McKee has come in and won games for them. I think Cole Payton was a good player in North Dakota State, and Andy Dalton has a track record. Probably feel more comfortable with him as a backup than a lot of other backups in the National Football League. You have 4 guys right there who many people would say, yeah, I'd take any one of those 3 as my backup over some of the backups that we see in the league, including Teddy Bridgewater. Hero and Heel on the other side. Get yours in. Text us, 21,000, or call us on the Meyer hotline, 866-838-4843, or you can join the chat and give us your Hero and Heel. That's next on X's and Bros. Stay with us.
In the den. with Dan Dickerson.
Hey, Tigers fans, a new baseball season means a new season on Michigan's favorite island destination, Mackinac Island. Baseball, spring, and Mackinac Island. Things that return every year, reminding us what a great state we live in. Shake off the winter blahs, take in a game, and plan your trip to America's top summer destination, MackinacIsland.org. As we approach the end of April, let's take a look at some of the players off to great starts. On the home run leaderboard, White Sox rookie Munetaka Murakami has started his career with a bang. 11 home runs in his first 95 at-bats. The Nationals' James Wood, just 23, has 10 to lead the National League. Yordan Alvarez and Ben Rice are the two best pure hitters so far, both hitting over 330 with power. The most eye-opening performance of anyone belongs to Angels pitcher Jose Soriano. He's allowed just one run in 38 innings of work. And it's a little early to take a look at the WAR leaderboard, but you can't help but notice the Tigers' Kevin McGonigal is right at the top with a 2 WAR.
Saturday night, May 23rd.
Carry on my wayward son.
Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort welcomes multi-platinum legends, Kansas. Tickets start at $60 and are on sale now at the box office or etix.com.
Just in the wind.
Don't miss the best of classic rock. Kansas returns to Soaring Eagle Saturday, May 23rd. SoaringEagleCasino.com.
How would you like to watch the Pistons in the playoffs on the biggest TV in Michigan? Well, you can get a huge deal and also get the biggest TV at your local ABC Warehouse store. You can shop online right now at abcwarehouse.com. They have locations all across Michigan. So if you want to watch the Pistons in the playoffs on the biggest TV in your neighborhood, go to your local ABC Warehouse store or shop online at abcwarehouse.com.
18 after the hour here on a busy Monday. Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort bringing us this hour of X's and BrO's. Via the comment section on YouTube. You can watch us, stream us live on YouTube and on X and on Facebook. We always appreciate that. From Bob Zielinski. After a player is picked and their career wheel spins, only history will tell us when it stops. If it'll be success or bust, not the so-called experts beforehand. As a rule, perhaps that's a good way to live, but there's plenty of people who thought Sam Darnold's career was over. Many people who thought Baker Mayfield's career was over. We've seen it time and time again, where guys, they were sent out to pasture too early, right? And look at how they've come. That's why they have a lot of times comeback player of the year. Somebody gave up on them, and they kept fighting. I tell this story all the time about Whit Merrifield. I don't know if Bob's heard it. If he has, he doesn't have to listen to it again. Nobody believed in him. He was in the minors, and his minor league manager put his name on the lineup card, not as a starter, but as a reserve, because they always put the reserves down there. Misspelled his name. Merrifield took a picture of it and kept it forever. Helped motivate him. There's a lot of people who just don't believe in you, and then suddenly you're able to stage some type of comeback and say, yes, I have rekindled that competitive edge that I once had. So you may be that person in the minor leagues or in college, and then people just seem to give up on you. I don't think it's all based on, the history that tells us when it's going to stop, because there's a lot of people who have pushed that stop button before they should have in sports in general. How many people had gave up on Max Muncy? And then look at what he's done with the Dodgers. Look at his story. It's a pretty damn good one. So I don't think that's necessarily true. We can agree to disagree on that. Let's get to the hero and heel. We have it for you every Monday at 8:18. My hero is Spencer Torkelson. Struggled mightily to start the year, as I said. Had gone 25 games for his first homer. Second longest drought of his career to start a season. He was hitting $179, slugging just .229. Since that time, he's homered in 5 straight games, raised his batting average to 57 points, and increased his slugging percentage 270 points. Now, he's not all the way back. The numbers are still not where they need to be, but he's trending in the right direction. He's getting there. It's never easy to get through these challenging ruts. What I respect most about it is your mental capacity to stomach it. Look yourself in the mirror and say, I'm good enough to be here. And he's done that. And now it's starting to pay off for him and the Tigers. So he's going to be my hero for the week. How about yours, Andy?
Mine is Kenny Albert, the broadcaster. He has the most national broadcasts across NHL, MLB, NFL, and NBA. After this weekend, it was 1,545 total games called. And he recently called, obviously, the USA Golden Goal for USA Hockey. So I thought that was pretty cool. He passed Dick Stockton, who had 1,544.
Wow, I didn't know that. Good job.
Yeah, so
well done.
that just happened this. I don't know what day it was. I think it was maybe Saturday was the night that it happened. So
okay, that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
that's really special.
I mean, I think he's the only one. If I'm correct, I'll check it to make sure. But I think he's the only broadcaster right now that calls all 4 major sports. So in the USA and Canada. But
does he call? Does he call baseball?
Yeah, he does NFL, NBA, MLB, and NHL still currently, apparently. I'm not sure if it's just like a, fill-in role for baseball or what it is. I definitely haven't heard his voice on that as much. I feel like hockey's the main thing you hear him on in
hockey
everything
and football.
Now. But yeah,
I would say hockey and football. I didn't realize he called baseball. Good for him. He's I've had a chance to cross paths with him a couple of times. Very nice guy. The golden goal, look, there's certain criticisms people have for play-by-play voices. You have to make sure the puck is in, just like you have to make sure the ball's over the fence in home runs. Okay, make sure it's a catch. Instead of being first, just be correct, be right.
Yeah, for sure.
So the golden goal was kind of a late call, but he wanted to make sure that it was a goal. So I give him credit. So good dude, and I love that. Good job on the hero. All right, here's my heel. My heel is Diego Pavia. This is the second time he's been my heel this year. The Vanderbilt quarterback, not drafted. There were 257 players drafted. Pavia was not one of them. There were a lot of other players who were then signed as undrafted free agents. He wasn't picked up by any team until Sunday when he accepted an invitation to the Rams camp. He became the first Heisman Trophy finalist not to be chosen in the draft since Northern Illinois quarterback Jordan Lynch in 2014. And Jordan Lynch was really good, by the way, in college. After finishing second to Fernando Mendoza, Pavia was spotted in a New York club next to a sign that read F Indiana. He also posted a photo on Instagram with the caption, F all the voters, family for life. He would later apologize. He also went on the podcast circuit and said, you know what? I'm not hiring an agent. I don't want them to have my money. I want to keep all my money. Okay.
How's that going?
How's that going? He did apologize for the social media post about the Heisman Trophy. I quote, I have much love and respect for the Heisman voters in the selection process. I apologize for being disrespectful. He's a perfect example of why you have to check your emotions. Just relax for a moment, take a deep breath, and figure out the consequences before you do something. He's my heel. Who's yours?
Mine is the Mets. It's a pretty easy one right now, but starting 9-18 overall, it's their worst start through 27 games since 1983. Shutout or held to one run and leading the MLB with 9 games so far this season. So I think as with how bad the Tigers were down the stretch last year, a lot of fans here can relate to that. When you're just not scoring any runs and how much it sucks to turn it on every night and try to watch. I'm sure that's how Mets. I actually have a friend who's a Mets fan I ran into this weekend, and he just told me to stop talking. So they're definitely not happy about it right now. So that's tough. But
I love that.
And I know that payroll doesn't mean everything, but right now there's the second highest in baseball from what I checked. So yeah, it's tough to have the record they have right now.
A lot of people are laughing about them a little bit, and rightfully so. Via text, Freddie says, my hero is the Navy player drafted in his raw emotions. He's referring to Eli Heidenreich. It was awesome. He was drafted in the 7th round by the hometown Steelers. He was primarily a wingback for Navy. He's got really good quickness. He's got good hands to catch the ball. I didn't run between the tackles a lot at Navy. I don't know if he makes the team, and I don't know how much he would play if he did, but it is a phenomenal story and perhaps one of the most tear-jerking moments you saw for the entire draft. As they walked down that long hallway, and I think the hallway's too long, he saluted the Steelers logo, grabbed his hat, and went on the stage. I thought it was pretty awesome.
Yeah, it was
so
cool.
I love that hero. That's appropriate. The heel, he writes, the Tigers bullpen, especially Vest and Kenley. It's been a little bit of a challenge there, hasn't it? Yeah. I mean, I'm surprised that Will Vest has struggled the way he has. Kenley Jansen was a fine signing. You know, I've got no problem. They're going to point you in the direction of the career saves for him. The big question is he your best option at the end of the bullpen? The bullpen has not been as good as I thought it was going to be. But we're early on. It's 29 games deep. I expect it to get better. We expect the Pistons to get better too. And we also have the final draft grades for a lot of the national websites. We'll get to all that and more when we wrap things up here on a busy Monday on X's and Bros. We're brought to you this hour by your friends at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort.
Saturday night, May 23rd.
Carry on my wayward son.
Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort welcomes multi-platinum legends, Kansas. Tickets start at $60 and are on sale now at the box office or etix.com.
Just in the wind.
Don't miss the best of classic rock. Kansas returns to Soaring Eagle Saturday, May 23rd. SoaringEagleCasino.com.
Motown Legends, TNT, together again. Temptation. Boy, Tops, Saturday night, May 9th at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. Tickets start at $55 and on sale now at the box office at etix.com. Saturday night, May 9th at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. Temps and Tops, together again.
You've worked hard for decades saving in pre-tax retirement plans like 401ks and IRAs, saving on taxes now. But as your retirement now approaches, you're going to get taxed at rates you have no control over. Hi, I'm Mitch Lyons, founder of Mitch Lyons Wealth. Your 401k balance isn't worth what your statement says. You could lose thousands of dollars to taxes, and those distributions can impact other areas of your retirement like Social Security and Medicare. Could a Roth IRA conversion be of help to you? You've probably heard of Roth conversions, but it can be confusing. Should you convert all at once or over time? Where should you pay the taxes from? How do you know for sure? Get our free personalized Roth Blueprint analysis today to find out exactly what makes sense for you. Your Roth Blueprint could potentially increase your lifetime wealth by thousands of dollars. So get your free Roth Blueprint today. Text Blueprint to 844-867-8335. That's Blueprint to 844-867-8335. Or go to MitchLyonsWealth.com, your best game plan to protect, grow, and win retirement.
What's up, Michigan? You're listening to my good friend Shep. The Huge Show is coming up later today at 3, right here on the Michigan Sports Network.
You think Devin Booker's a good player, Andy?
Yeah. I mean, yes.
I do too. He's lost 9 straight playoff games. Do you notice that?
I did not know that. No.
Yeah, it's amazing. You know, it's a team sport, but even though we all admit that, we clump certain players together. I mean, should he have won any of the previous 9? I don't know. Could he have? I don't have his complete playoff breakdown in front of me. I just think it's one of those situations where a good player has not been surrounded by good enough players around him sometimes.
Sure, but 9 straight's a lot. I mean,
it's a lot
for a sport where an individual can take over a game and win, like that. I'd say that's a lot. Yeah.
Yep, I think so too. The Pistons have one home playoff win since 2008. I don't think it's on their superstar players or their star players, but Jalen Duren has been a serious issue for them. Cade Cunningham has had a problem against Franz Wagner. I saw this yesterday that in the 13 and a half minutes of matchup against him the other day, he was 5 for 17 with 4 turnovers when Franz Wagner guarded him. The complaint, and we had a text earlier about JB Bickerstaff's rotations. And I said, the easiest thing to do about coaches is complain about basketball, complain about their rotations, baseball, complain about their lineups, and hockey, complain about the lines. Why don't you change up the lines? And football is, of course, play calling more than anything else. Detroit did start the other night, the fourth quarter, of Danish Jenkins, Duncan Robinson, Asar Thompson, Javonte Green, and Isaiah Stewart. According to Cleaning the Glass, that lineup played 8 total minutes in the regular season, was a minus 78.5. That's a problem. That, of course, is the issue some people have with JB Bickerstaff so far. Okay. Yes, you have a problem with Jalen Duren. Me too. He averaged 19.5 points, 10.5 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 turnovers, shot 65% and 75% from the line. During the playoffs, he's averaging 9 points. That is 10 points, 10.5 points fewer. He's averaging 8 rebounds, 2.5 rebounds shy. He's averaging 2 assists, the same. He's almost doubled his turnovers. He's gone from 65% shooting to 42. He's gone from 75 free throw percent shooting to 63. He has digressed in every single category except for assists. It's not how it's supposed to work. You're supposed to elevate your play in the postseason.
Yep, and I think that's what people are waiting to see, like him kind of take over in that way. Like you have to find, 10 points is a lot, man. Yeah, I mean, you lose 10 points a game like that on average when you're one of the key players of this team. It's hard not to point to that being a lot of the reason, for sure.
You understand that, so do I. I hope everybody does. And I'm not saying this is automatic, but they lost game 1 by 11. Okay. They lost game 3 by 8. If you're averaging your average, just based on averages, you're winning those games. Now, it's not all on him. Okay. As I mentioned before, when you look at game 3, for example, I know everyone focuses on the points. I totally understand that. But look at the turnovers. I love Cade Cunningham. He had 9 turnovers, Andy. So he had 9 assists, but he had 9 turnovers too. Jalen Duren was, if you believe in plus minus, he was an even. You know who was a minus 10? Danish Jenkins, the people who want a primary ball handler. You know who else was a minus 10? Asar Thompson. 17 points, 8 rebounds, 5 blocks. That was awesome. He was a minus 10.
That's insane when you hear that stat line.
Yeah. He was tied for the worst of minus. Duncan Robinson, a minus 8. Tobias Harris was a -7. But it was Danis Jenkins and Asar Thompson who were the biggest minuses for Detroit, while Orlando's getting a +19 from Franz Wagner. Who's that equivalent? See, when I looked at it, I saw Orlando beating Detroit, and the first thing I say is 25 points each from Paolo Banchero and from Desmond Bain. They were fantastic. What I left out was Franz Wagner was a +19. If you believe in the plus minus, and I do, that means while you're on the floor, basketball has adopted this, what hockey does. While you're on the floor and it's 5-on-5, of course they do that in basketball. You don't do that in hockey, but you do it in basketball. It's always 5-on-5. Who's the plus while your team is out there? Is your team winning? Are you outscoring the opposition? I think it's an important statistic. I do. So if you believe in that, there you go. It's a little different when you get hurt, you know? I mean, you saw over the weekend, Dante DiVincenzo out, torn Achilles. And by the way, did you see the fluke situation in the NBA playoffs? Over the last 2 years, there have been 4 players who have torn their Achilles in the playoffs. Do you know who they are?
I don't know. That's
Damian Lillard, Jason Tatum.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Tyrese Halliburton, and now Dante DiVincenzo. What do they all have in common?
Good question.
They all wear number 0.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Who wears 0 for Detroit?
Jalen Duren. Yeah. That's crazy. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
but is it because these happened in different years though? Like each one was
over the last 2 years.
Okay, the last 2 years there's been a couple players. So yeah, I guess that wouldn't take Duren out of the running there.
Right.
For that.
Right.
Yeah.
So Lillard, Tatum, and Halliburton were last year. This year is DiVincenzo. And it happened just the other night. And Minnesota's up in the series on Denver. But I found that interesting. Almost scary-like.
Yeah, for sure. That's Minnesota. I remember you gave us that stat about them being the top 10 in a lot of those categories, and all of a sudden that's looking like it's actually got some stuff behind it. That's for sure.
Yeah, and I said when I asked you this, who's the one team that is outside the top 4? If you want to look at an NCAA tournament bracket, who's the one team outside the top 4 you would take in an upset? And I said Minnesota over Denver. But as it stands, San Antonio leads 3-1, Minnesota leads 3-1, Lakers lead 3-1, and the Thunder lead 3-0. The West is, it's not very competitive. In the East, Orlando, as we know, is up 2-1. The Cavs and Raptors are tied at 2. The Knicks and Hawks are tied at 2. And the Celtics are up 3-1 on the Sixers.
Been pretty impressive what the Lakers have been doing too. I mean,
I agree with you on that. I don't like that.
I don't think a lot of people do,
but I agree with you. Tonight you have 3 games. I mean, Minnesota can close out the Nuggets in Denver. No Anthony Edwards. No Dante DiVincenzo. Oklahoma City can close out in Phoenix, and because they're up 3-1, and Detroit can square the series in Orlando. All right, let me get to this. And then we'll get to the poll question from let's do the poll question. We'll do the poll question, then the grades that the Lions received from the draft. We asked you on Friday, grade the Lions pick of Blake Miller, A, B, C, or wanted someone else. What were the final results of that poll question?
A got 56% of the vote, so for the most part, it feels like people liked it overall. And the only other option that received any votes, it was 44% was B. So overall, seems like people are pretty happy with that pick. I feel like with what the Lions have needed, it was a pretty tough one to be like super upset about. I don't know how you really could be, but
yeah, we've got another Mitch Lions poll question for you today. Who is your favorite Lions draft pick? Blake Miller, Derek Moore, Jimmy Rolder, or Keith Abney? We didn't include a few others because, quite honestly, I mean, it's almost repetitive. If I'd have put the wide receiver in there, people would have said they'd have gone nuts. Somebody asked me this the other day. Who's give me the one player that Lions fans would go crazy. And I said, well, if they drafted a wide receiver, I think they would be pissed. And what happens? Detroit goes out and they draft Kendrick Law in the 5th round. And people were not happy about it in Detroit. Anyway, speaking of the NFL draft, I looked at the various websites to see how they graded Detroit's draft. I graded it a B for what that's worth. And the reason I graded it a B is because I've already given you the names that I wanted, but they took. I'm fine with Blake Miller. I wanted Monroe Freeling. Okay? I'm not going to squabble over that. I wanted Ionia, but he wasn't available. So picking Vivega Ionia out of Penn State at the left guard position, it was impossible because he had already been taken by Baltimore. So it doesn't make sense. It's not about who you should have gotten. It's if you were in your spot, who was taken after the guy they took. So that I wanted Freeling. They took Miller. I'm fine with it. They took Moore. I wanted Akis. He went a few picks later. I'm still fine with Derek Moore. They took Rolder, and I wanted Dennis Sutton, and he went a pick or two later. Jimmy Rolder, from all intents and purposes, solid football player. All right. And then I wanted Cole Payton in the 5th. They took Abney. Abney seems to fill a much bigger need, and I've changed my mind on that, but that's why I wanted originally Cole Payton. I'm going in line with it. All right. So if you look at it, Andy, what would you have given them? What's your draft day grade?
I would have been like a B plus. I would have been maybe a little bit higher. I think everything that they did, I think they gave themselves great options in depth with this draft. I feel like throughout. So that's what it kind of makes me happy overall. Maybe they didn't get the Derek Moore pick. They probably could have done something else with that, and I would have maybe liked a couple of the players that were available after that. But it's minor complaints for me, if anything.
I took a poll of 24 different websites. 24. Here's where they are. NFL.com, the Lions got an A-. CBS Sports, they got a B. Sporting News, they got an A-. AP, the Associated Press, they got a B+. The San Diego Tribune, they got a B. The Cleveland.com, they got a B+. Clutch Points, they got a B. The Score, they got a B. The Ringer, they got a B. ESPN gave them a B. So did USA Today and Athlon Sports and Fox Sports and Sports Illustrated and Bleacher Report. Actually, Fox Sports gave them a B+. Pro Football Focus gave them a B-. The New York Post gave them a C+. Sharp Football gave them a C+. For the Win gave them a C+. Yahoo Sports gave them a B-. The Kicker gave them a B-. Roto World gave them a C+. And Sport Day gave them a B. Overall, if you're going on a grade point average, 0 to 4, Detroit got a 2.89, which, if you look at it, ranked was 16th in the National Football League. So literally in the middle of the pack. The worst grade was Jacksonville at 32, the Rams at 31, the Niners at 30. The best grades were Cleveland, the Raiders, Giants, Jets, and Cowboys. There's your top 5. And if you're looking just at our division, the NFC North, I'll tell you, they gave, this is condensed now. The Lions had the best draft of any team in the division when they finished 16. The Bears were at 20, the Packers were at 21, and the Minnesota Vikings were at 29. Again, for what it's worth. That's a lot of different websites to kind of go filter your way through and figure out who's good, who's not, maybe who's trustworthy, who's not. But the bottom line is Detroit, for the most part, it's about middle of the pack. But if you gave them a B, you're probably right around where you should be. All right. So excited for that and excited to to see what they do and how they end up moving forward, because there's a lot of things that this team has addressed. This is what everybody kept telling us. They kept telling us, you got to draft for need. I hope they didn't draft for need, but isn't it ironic that perhaps when they don't, they end up filling the need? I think Brad Holmes said it best over the weekend. When you're able to marry the two, which has always been my philosophy, you take the best player available, and if that player is getting a position of need, great. If it's this player in another position where you're a little bit higher, or you've got a little bit more depth and they're about even, then you're taking the one with the position of need. It's not that hard to decipher. But overall, they're taking BPA, best player available. They also addressed need after need after need. This team needed an offensive tackle. They got an offensive tackle. They needed an edge rusher. They got 2 edge rushers. They needed a linebacker. There's one area, and they got a linebacker. They needed a corner. They got a corner, and a really good one at that. They also got a defensive tackle. What do they need? Probably more than anything else, they probably needed a safety. Many people would have liked to have seen them take a safety. They didn't get one. And there are some of us out there who truly believe they needed a backup quarterback. Now, I wouldn't have wanted one high in the draft. I don't think many of them were worth taking high in the draft. But later, like I said, the 5th, 6th round, I get it. I can understand why you would do that. Players got to make your team, though. There are going to be undrafted. Look, they also signed an undrafted free agent quarterback. Is that the same thing? Well, what's the difference between Garrett Nussmeier going in the 7th round and you signing an undrafted free agent? Not much. So I have no issue with that. They do have a guy going in there ready to compete. So let's see if he can get that done. That'll be an interesting storyline in training camp. Oh, something that I teased and I didn't get to, by the way. Did you see the Red Sox fired Alex Cora? One of the best quotes is from Rob Bradford of WEEI Radio in Boston. He said he woke up to a text from one of the Boston Red Sox players, and their quote was this: "It's like blanking in your pants and changing your shirt."
It was everywhere this weekend too. After
You
that,
saw that?
Yeah, you couldn't miss it. Yeah, they were
Pretty
big
funny.
on that. It's crazy. Yeah,
That's one of the best quotes ever, isn't it?
yeah.
Here's the difference. They did win 2 games since the firing.
Right, and that does happen. We see that happen all the time in sports. I feel like when
Yeah.
the interim takes over right away.
Short fix. Yeah. Well, Todd McClellan. They win 7 straight.
Yep.
And then they
That's a
came
great
back
example.
down to reality. Yeah.
Yep.
Really good example. Okay. Well, listen, I want to thank Andy McDonald. I want to thank you for your inclusion, joining us on the stream, joining us via text. We always welcome your thoughts and your comments. It helps our program without question. We're back with you tomorrow morning, 6 o'clock here on X's and Bros. Don't forget the huge show later on today, 3 to 7 on these same great station affiliates. Have a great Monday, everybody.
Mitch Lyons here, founder of Mitch Lyons Wealth, where we create your best game plan to protect, grow, and win retirement. I'm here with Tiger legend Kirk Gibson, who we are proud to support and partner with on the newly opened Kirk Gibson Center for Parkinson's Wellness.
Thanks, Mitch. We appreciate your support.